So now let's take a look at PDFs. And we're going to cover printing a drawing, take a look at the Traverse PC PDF driver, and let's take a look at some print sizes and plotting to scale. Again, it's a lot to cover, but I think that's good. Okay, remember I said everyone gets a point plot, and I didn't copy the pictures over to this folder, so my pictures are going to come up blank here. But here's that point plot we had a moment ago. It's an 11 by 17. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Print, and I just right-clicked a blank spot, but I could have also gone to Tools. And I'm going to go to Page Setup and just make sure it's tracking through that 11 by 17 for me. I don't know how many of you have done this, but if I go to Print Preview, here's my 11 by 17 sheet of paper. The whole time I'm working in the drawing view, I'm just working inside the margins, kind of to save space. But I can see what those margins are and what that full sheet size is anytime I want. Now, I also could have come to Print and said Print Setup. And I could have this go to a DesignJet plotter. I can have it go to a 11 by 17 tabloid printer. I'll tell you, I almost always send everything to Traverse PC PDF. And the reason is then I always have all of the sizes available. So if I need to do an architectural D 24 by 36, it's available under that PDF driver. And when I go to print, I can just change from that to a plotter, for instance. So real easy to make that change on the fly, particularly if I start with that PDF driver. When I choose OK, it's going to ask me for the page margins again. This is where I specify the margins around the edges. Each edge can have its own margin. And then when I finally go to print, I just say print the drawing. It's going to that particular printer. Now, when I write to a PDF file, it stops and says, where do you want to save that at? And this is my point plot, so we're going to say point plot, PDF. Traverse PC is going to save it, and then it's going to show it to me, because I've chosen that setting in the menus in Windows. So here's my PDF, 11 by 17. They can zoom in, zoom out, whatever they want to do. And I'm done. So pretty quick and easy to write that out. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing for our site survey. So here's the site. And I don't know if you guys do this or not. I might look at this and say, I want some white space down here where all of my title block and stuff is. Or I might want to leave the raster image showing this highway down here. I'm going to choose not to show that. I'm going to clear it out. I want to show you how I do that real quick. So I pull down my draw menu. I generally don't have the draw menu toolbar open in here because I can do everything with these stacked buttons. And I can pull up a rectangle here real easily, and then it becomes the top button and it's active. So it's just a kind of a compressed way to have the toolbars all available without having them docked on the sides here. That gives me more room for the drawing. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to come in and just draw a rectangle where I want to clip the survey to. That's probably adequate like that. And then I'm going to pick that rectangle, right-click it, and say Clip Survey Space to this object. So Traverse PC is not going to do anything to the paper space objects, but if a survey space object lies outside that rectangle, it's going to clip it. And it's going to just stop here and say, do you want to make that rectangle invisible? And I say, yeah. So now my rectangle is invisible. I've clipped my survey to that area, and I'm good to go. And I can, by the way, go in and specify which layers I want to clip. I think I had it just choose all of them when I started with that one. So that's what it did. So now let's go ahead and write this PDF. And you know the drill here. We'll make sure we're set up for a PDF printer. We'll pick the page size that we want. Make sure our margins are good. And then we'll just say print. Again, Traverse PC is going to ask where we want to save that, and we're going to put it in this folder. We're going to call this site. I could have left the job number on there too. It's going to write it, and then it's going to display it to us in a browser or whatever we've chosen to look at it. And there's my clipping, so it transfers through really through really nicely with the PDFs. Okay, and I've got my ASCII file, my point plot PDF, my site PDF. The next thing I want to do is take a look at the DWGs. Let me give me a moment to bring that up here. Okay, I'm looking at my notes, and there's two more things we wanted to cover on the PDFs. We want to talk about custom PDF size and plotting a PDF to scale. So I don't know if you noticed this or not, but when I went into page setup and I pulled down this list of sizes, down at the bottom I've got this PostScript custom page size. And I'm going to select that and choose OK. And I see that this is a 17 by 23. So a lot of times, my county, for instance, may require that I turn in the drawings at a certain page size. Maybe they've got a microfiche system that they're still using. Maybe they bind them in books and they need a certain margin or a certain size to fit those books. Whatever the requirements are, I have to submit them in that size. And we get this question all the time from folks. So I do that with the custom page size, and you saw that here. Now I want to show you where I actually set that up. I'm in Windows 10, so I'm going to go to Settings, Devices, Printers and Scanners. And I do that with whatever the printer driver is, in this case the Traverse PC PDF. I'm going to manage that, go to Printing Preferences, and then Advanced. So that's where I find this custom PostScript size. And I select the custom size from the list. I pull up the dialog box where I can specify that I want to do this in inches, what the sizes are, height and width. There's some other settings as far as whether it's a roll, feed, and log inch in first, that sort of thing. And I might have to play with this just a few times to kind of get what I want. But Windows lets me have one of these set up at a time for each printer driver. So I've got this one set up for my Traverse PC PDF printer driver. So when I come in and select that printer, okay, and say that's the printer I want to go to. Oh, didn't want to print that. Sorry, let's cancel. I actually wanted to go to Print Setup. Then I can choose that page size, and it's available to me when I pull down the list. I'm going to go back to my 11 by 17 just because that's what I wanted, and away I go. Now, some of you also ask us about, okay, so I'm doing a 24 by 36 for this project, and I don't have a 24 by 36 printer, a plotter, and I don't anymore. If I need to do something that big, I write a PDF and I email it to our print shop here in town. They print it out and I stop by and pick it up. So I just want to show you how that works. I'm going to take this one that we just wrote out a minute ago. Let's go ahead and open that. If I just double click it, it comes up in a browser, and I can print it from here, and I can specify the page size and all that sort of thing by picking the plotter that supports that page size. What I want to do instead is show you how they do it at the print shop, and I do most of my printing here. I'm going to open mine with Adobe Acrobat. So this is the paid program from Adobe. And what I like about this is when I actually go to print this now, I have control over everything. And here's what the print shop needs to do. I told them what size it was, so they're going to go into Page Setup, and they're going to pick that size, whatever it was, off of here. So I've got a Brother, and I'm going to do a ledger size. Okay. So I'm sticking with the size that I can actually print so you can see how this works. Then they're going to turn off any scaling. So they're not going to try to fit the height or width. They're not going to apply a scale factor, any of that sort of thing. They're just going to say turn off any scaling whatsoever. So now I'm going to an 11 by 17 without any scaling. And when I print this, it will print to scale perfectly. And at the print shop, they're just going to pick their plotter, choose the D size, actual size, and print, and get the same results, but for a 24 by 36 instead of an 11 by 17. So real easy for me to send this out and have it plotted, scanned, whatever I need to do at that size. Or if I've got a plotter that does this, just plot directly in-house too. Just wanted you to see how those PDFs are scaled.